Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to discuss a question about correlation, or sometimes the topic was called as to variable analysis. So this question is actually from past paper of IB Med Studies 2017 November. So I want to encourage you guys that there's a correlate cross topics between what the math studies students actually studying with the Cambridge International Mathematics, or also Cambridge Mathematics. So as we know, in international mathematics, the number of the syllabus is 0607, and for Cambridge Mathematics is 0580. Because those two syllabus actually cover correlation, I think it's important for those students who is actually in grade 10 Cambridge to have a look of this kind of question, which is actually similar. So we just start now. So the question is actually in number 5 in that past paper, or paper 1 2017 Med Studies. So a survey was carried out to investigate the relationship between a person's age in years A and the number of hours they watch television per week, H. The scatter diagram represents the results of the survey. Now, as you can see, guys, this is a scatter plot. So we can see that the person's age in years is the x-axis, the x variable, or we can say as the independent variable, while the hours watching television is the y-axis, or we say technically as the dependent variable. The mean age of the people surveyed was 50. For these results, the equation of the regression line h on A is h is equal to 0.22a plus 15. So what we are looking for is the question A. Find the mean number of hours that the people surveyed watch television per week. Now this actually has 2 points here. Now, what are the strategy, or the key strategy that we have to do? Now, some of my students, like, they actually try to directly do manual calculations. At first, you can see here the example. This is from the real test example from my students' work. So they directly use that. Okay, they directly do calculate manually from the data, from the scatter plot. This is the first one, which result to 14. The mistake that actually we see is that this one suddenly is over 50, while we know the number of the data is 25. Now the second example is quite true, quite correct, but there's some fallacy, there's like some mistakes in terms of like the data that actually be put here in the calculation. So the answer later on is 26.2, while here actually you can see is 26.12. So what's actually we're missing here? What the students miss is that they forgot that there's already the regression line given. Okay, so it says the mean age. It means if the mean age was 50, then we use that information to the equation given. In other words, we just substitute the value of 50 to the A there. So we can see that the value of the regression line, or the equation of line of this correlation is h is equal to 0.22a plus 15. If we know that the mean h, or A, is equal to 50, therefore the mean number of hours, h, is equal to 0.22 times A, or 50 plus 15. So we got the result as h is 26. So there is 26 hours that the people watch, that the people being surveyed watch television per week. That's the first solution. That's the first way. The second solution, which is basically we do it manually, which actually takes time. Now remember, this is only 2 points. In other words, we are expected to solve this question in only 2 minutes. In other words, we need to be smart here. Okay, this is for emergency case in which that we actually don't understand the idea here. So what we actually missing from the second example, you see that it should be 14, that there are 3/19, while here before we actually see that only one of my students only use 1/19. The data is only 1/19, while the fact is that there are 3/19. So 1/14, 3/19, 2/20, 1/21, 1/22, 3/24, 2/25s, 2/26, 2/30s, 2/31s, 1/33, 2/38, and 1/42, and then all of this divided by 25, and then we get the result of the sum is 655, and we divide it to the number of data, which is 25, which is equal to 26.2. Okay, now let's move. Now the hardest thing with the question for this one, B, draw the regression line on the scatter diagram. Now, if we don't understand the key strategy here, most of my students will just use directly the idea of predicting the line, or basically just based on base fit. Now be careful with this. Why? Because the regression line really depends on the value of mean values. What I mean in this case is that it really depends on the mean of the person's age, and also the value of the mean of the hours watching television, which that's actually our second point. Now in making a line, we need at least 2 points. Now we already find the second point. Now we need to know what's actually the first point. Now the easiest thing to understand this is that to understand the idea of y-intercept. Now as we actually understand that person or people actually start aging, of course, from when he or she was born, which is actually we consider people's age as 0. So when we input age is equal to 0 or a is equal to 0, the equation says that age is equal to 0.22 a plus 15. It means we find the hours is 15 hours. It means, according to the regression line, a baby was expected to watch television 15 hours per week. So that's actually how we draw the regression line. So we have 2 points, 0.15 and 50.26, which is actually the values that we actually already find in A. And then after that, C. By placing a tick in the correct box, determine which of the following statement is true. Now, this is a basic question. It means that we need to understand the nature of line. Now we know that anything that goes down, that actually shows a negative correlation, and anything that actually goes up shows a positive correlation. Based on the regression line that we have drawn, we can conclude that this is a positive correlation. So we tick the first one. Now we move to D. Diogo is 18 years old. Give a reason why the regression line should not be used to estimate the number of hours Diogo watches television per week. Now, in this kind of question, we need to understand the idea of interpolation and extrapolation. Now, interpolation is basically we try to find the value, mostly the y values, based on the regression line or the equation itself. But the data, the smallest data has to be coming from the smallest amount of the number of the smallest value that actually exists in the scatter plot. Now here if you see 18 years old, we don't see anything from the data of persons that actually age in 18. The smallest that we actually see is 25 years old. It means if we want to use the regression line to estimate the number of hours that this 18 years old teenager or guy really try to watch, it will be inaccurate. Why? Because we try to extrapolate the regression line, which will turns out to be inaccurate. Okay. In other words, we need to, if we want to make this kind of research, we have to, we need to have a full spectrum of data. So that's actually all my explanation. I hope you actually learn from my tutorial here. God bless you.